There's nothing quite like The Outer Limits. It wasn't just psychological terror like The Twilight Zone. No, The Outer Limits was its own brand of terror. It asked the kind of questions that polite television avoided. What happens when a man plays God? When science becomes religion? When our reflection in the cosmic mirror isn't human at all? So tonight, dim the lights and get ready for the episodes that shocked the 60s. Fantasy, sci-fi, horror, rerun zone. The Mice, original air date January 6, 1964. I'm not sure what it was about this episode that really got to me. Maybe it's that vision in my mind of this slimy, crab-like alien creature stuffing some kind of disgusting-looking goo into what I presume is its mouth. Or maybe it's the claustrophobic feel with its stark lighting and experimental camera angles. And then there's the otherworldly, atonal music by Dominic Frontier. The Outer Limits effects team, labeled Project Unlimited, was led by artist and sculptor Hua Chang, who gave us some of the series' most memorable creatures. Here, he gives us the Chromoite, a disgusting jelly-like creature that's the stuff of nightmares. Primitive by today's standards? Of course. But remember, this was 1963. In The Mice, a prison experiment promises redemption for convicted killer Chino Rivera, but instead, it delivers horror. He's given a chance to escape a life sentence by volunteering for a risky teleportation experiment meant to exchange technology between Earth and the distant world called Chromo. But when the Chromoite's volunteer arrives, chaos erupts. The creature's behavior is erratic and violent, setting off a chain of murders inside the research facility, with Rivera becoming the scapegoat. When the truth is finally revealed, it turns out that the Chromoites have deceived the Earth, sending one of their leading scientists to secretly experiment on ways to feed their starving race. The final line delivers the show's moral sting.
All you had to do was to ask. Hunger.
Nightmare, original air date December 2nd, 1963.
Don't touch me!
Man, this one really creeps me out. The set is sparse and monotone, but the psychological torture seems all too real. War, fear, and a disturbing alien creature called an ebonite, who wields a torture wand like a wizard from hell. It starts off with an alleged nuclear attack from the planet Ebon that causes Earth to send a squad of soldiers on a mission of retaliation, only for them to be captured, imprisoned, and subjected to a psychological torment unlike anything seen on early 60s television. Its star, Ed Nelson, said in a 1964 interview that the torture scenes were so intense he felt more like he was doing live theater than television. The Ebonites, grotesque and emotionless, stripped their captives of dignity and control using illusions, sensory manipulation, and whispered lies to turn them against one another. Each man's past, his fears, prejudices, and loyalties becomes a weapon. As familiar faces appear in the shadows, the soldiers begin to question what's real. The twist is brutal. The entire ordeal is a human experiment. The war with Ebon never really existed. The Ebonites are not enemies, but unwilling participants in a test designed by Earth's own leaders to gauge courage through cruelty. The aliens, horrified by humanity's methods, denounce the project as barbaric, but not before one final senseless death closes the curtain. Writer-producer Joseph Stefano later admitted that Nightmare was created as an anti-military statement, warning against dehumanization in warfare. NBC censors almost pulled the episode, fearing it painted Earth's military as sadistic. But the network relented after Stefano softened one of the interrogation scenes. What made Nightmare so shocking wasn't just its torture sequences, though. They were shocking enough. It was its message, that the darkest horrors of war often come from the ones who wage it. The Man Who Was Never Born, Original air date October 28, 1963. Some of the most haunting monsters are the ones we pity, and few prove that better than the man who was never born. Before his days as disguise expert Roland Hand on Mission Impossible, Martin Landau took on one of his most heartbreaking roles, Andro, a disfigured survivor from a ruined future Earth. Twisted by the aftermath of biological warfare, Andro travels back through time to stop the scientist whose discovery will unleash the plague that wipes out humanity. His mission is one of vengeance and salvation until fate intervenes. When Andro meets the scientist's fiancée, Noelle, he experiences something his world forgot long ago: compassion. Beneath his ghastly appearance lies a soul aching to connect, and in Noelle's kindness, he finds a glimpse of redemption. Their bond turns the story into something far deeper than simple science fiction. It becomes a tragic love story caught in the machinery of time. The cruel irony is that his success means his own erasure. If he saves mankind, he will have never existed to love her. The Man Who Was Never Born is a love story like Beauty and the Beast, but doomed by time itself. The Invisibles. Original air date, February 3rd, 1964. In The Invisibles, a government agent infiltrates a secret society whose members are controlled by small, crab-like parasites that attach to their spines. These things whisper orders into the brain, feeding on obedience and fear. Written by producer, showrunner Joseph Stefano, the mind behind Hitchcock's Psycho screenplay, the story takes Cold War anxiety and turns it into living horror. The imagery was unforgettable. A writhing alien burrowing under a man's skin, filmed in stark close-up by cinematographer Conrad Hall, who would later win Oscars for Butch Cassidy and American Beauty. The parasite props, nicknamed the crabs on set, were molded from rubber and bicycle cables, animated by air hoses to twitch on cue. Network censors nearly pulled this episode, calling it too repulsive for television. Beneath the body horror beats an even subtler dread. The Invisibles is a fable about infiltration, conformity, and the surrender of free will, an allegory for McCarthyism that's more horrifying today than it was 60 years ago. The Invisibles touches a nerve that sends chills down the spine at the thought that these creatures, these parasites, can take over your mind, and once they're under your skin, they never quite let go. The Sixth Finger. Original air date, October 14th, 1963.
It's really quite simple. You release the mechanism of evolution, which is a self-generating force.
In The Sixth Finger, David McCallum delivers one of the most haunting performances in 1960s television. He plays Gwillem Griffiths, a bitter Welsh coal miner whose life of drudgery makes him the perfect subject for a scientist's bold new experiment: forced human evolution. The machine works, and then keeps working. Gwillem's mind expands beyond comprehension. His skull distends, and his intellect begins to dwarf that of his creator. But with godlike knowledge comes a chilling arrogance. He grows to despise the human race that birthed him, seeing mankind as primitive, violent, and unworthy of survival. The prosthetic makeup, an elongated skull, and the now famous sixth finger was revolutionary for its time, designed and created by renowned makeup artist John Chambers and Fred B. Phillips, who acted as makeup supervisor and helped with the application of the intricate appliances. McCallum, years before The Man from U.N.C.L.E., plays Gwillem with eerie restraint, calm, superior, and heartbreakingly alone. Director James Goldstone and cinematographer Conrad Hall shot him in shadow and silhouette, turning scientific progress into gothic tragedy. The Sixth Finger was considered so grotesque that some British stations refused to air it at all. Yet its warning still resonates. Knowledge without compassion isn't evolution, it's extinction. The Zanti Misfits. Original air date, December 30th, 1963.
Who invades our privacy?
This episode is still one of the most infamous and unforgettable episodes of The Outer Limits. A perfect marriage of science fiction and nightmare. The story begins when the Earth agrees to act as a prison planet for a race of insectoid beings called the Zanti, exiling their criminals to a remote desert base in California. The U.S. military nervously awaits the alien ship's arrival. When it lands, what emerges is beyond imagination. Small ant-like creatures with grotesque human faces, twitching mandibles, and shrill insect screams that seem to crawl out of the television screen itself. Shot on a tight budget, the stop-motion Zanti models were animated by Jim Danforth and Al Hamm, and was the only use of stop-motion animation in the entire series. Audiences in 1963, including this 10-year-old kid, were horrified and fascinated. Many viewers reportedly turned off their sets during the climatic swarm attack. But underneath the pulp horror lies a chilling irony. The Zanti demand that humans execute their own prisoners for them.
You are practiced executioners. We thank you.
The Architects of Fear. Original air date, September 30th, 1963.
Stay back. I turn on this X-ray machine and it's no more you.
In The Architects of Fear, a group of idealistic scientists hatch a plan that's as noble as it is monstrous. End war by giving mankind a single enemy to unite against. Their solution is grotesque genius. One of them will be surgically transformed into an alien invader, a staged threat meant to frighten Earth into peace. But when the plan unravels, the scientist's wife discovers the terrible truth. The creature the world fears most is her husband. Directed by Byron Haskin and written by Joseph Stefano, this episode pushed network censors to their limits. The creature design, crafted by Fred B. Phillips and legendary makeup artist John Chambers, was a slick, insect-like hybrid, simultaneously pitiful and terrifying. Stations in the South refused to air it, calling it too disturbing for television. Its haunting tone, amplified by Dominic Frontier's mournful score and Conrad Hall's shadow-heavy cinematography, turned a sci-fi parable into something almost Shakespearean. Beneath the latex and lights beats a human tragedy, a man so desperate to save his species that he becomes its monster. The Architects of Fear remains The Outer Limits at its most shocking, purest, and best. Cerebral, sorrowful, and merciless in its warning that when we try to manufacture peace through terror, we become the architects of the fear itself. The Outer Limits didn't need jump scares or gore. Its horror came from ideas, the kind that burrow into your thoughts and just won't leave. These episodes are the episodes that shocked me the most. They warned us about science, power, and the fragile boundaries of identity, themes that still echo today. Because once you've looked beyond the limits to the outer limits, the world never looks quite the same again. This is Rich from Rerun Zone. Thanks for watching, and good night.